What up? Once again, it is I, OJK Greezy, coming to you from the bedroom in the back of the house, not in the basement, my friends. We're on the upper level now. When I was a kid, my room was always in the basement. I vowed one day again I would have a room with a window. Now here I am at the top. But anyways, I know it's a bad look on integrity to not honor my word in doing a video every day. Technically, I'm 2 days late because it's 2:32 a.m. January 26th, and yeah, I didn't do one on Saturday or Sunday, and it's Monday. So that's not because I was out partying all weekend, just I was, I don't know, I guess doing other things and kind of Saturday I cleaned up all day. Sunday I don't know. Sunday I saw my mom, called my brother on the phone, wrote some emails to my professor, and what else? I did something else. Yeah, but I was pretty productive today. Yeah, I placed a grocery order, got some food for these baby dogs. So, yeah, and then Sunday I try to do something spiritual as well. So, that's just my personal Sunday tradition. And for me, yeah, this Sunday was seeing my mom, talking to my brother, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But that did it for me. It's so cold outside right now. It's like in the minus 30s. Well, feels like it to me, but I guess it fluctuates between minus high teens and like minus low 30s. Pretty much we're in that time of year where it gets like that where I am. From now until I'm estimating mid to late February, this is going to be the weather. Like, this is where hardcore winter sets in. Everybody out there who says, "Oh, I want to see snow," like my cousin, one of my cousins, for example, everyone thinks that they want to see snow until they're in it and they can't get out of it, especially times like this. A lot of people this time of year, if they're, mentally and financially elevated, what they will do this time of year is they will, for a month or two or three, if you can afford to, get out of the country, go to some tropical wonderland, some African destination or Caribbean destination. It does a lot for your spirit too. Well, no, not the past 2 years I've done that, but 2025 in March, I I spent the month back home in Jamaica with my dad's side of the family, my cousins, and the same with 2023 in February. Did the same thing. And yeah, it really picks up your spirit to exit out of winter, but to come back to it is turmoil to the soil. Oh, whoa, to the soul. I don't know why I'm on that rhyming mood. I was actually looking at some art that I had composed earlier. I'm always joking with people about how I'm gonna drop a mixtape, and I tell them for real, but people don't believe me. People think everything I say is a joke, pretty much. Even when I got these baby dogs, one of my friends on the phone was like, "No, you didn't. It's such a bad idea." Blah blah blah. And she like she thought I was playing around. She thought I was joking, but I'm for real. So it's another reason why I'm not showing my face because I know a lot of you would doubt my sincerity if you see my face. So let's just be neutral. Let's just take me at my word. Imagine that. Imagine I am sincerely the person I'm portraying myself to be, with or without the clown face. Say I had this face really in society. Would you judge me? Would you think you're better than me if this was my real face? What would you think? Would you think I was better than you? But anyways, um, what was I on about before? Yeah, I was talking about some art that I was doing. So anyways, I was looking through my little folder because a friend of mine at the beginning of the year, actually at the end of last year, we had said we are going to start a podcast, which is something that had been suggested to me before. And I was always down for the idea, but personally, I just felt overwhelmed. I'm not the most technologically savvy, okay? Anybody who knows me knows that I despise robots. The movie I, Robot basically did a number on me, and I really do feel like that could happen. It just seems too plausible. To me, that was not entirely fiction. So, anyways, that movie really stuck with me, and I feel like it has a lot of echoes in the present time. People getting giddy with robots, trusting somebody with a robotic mind who's not even fully human themselves, who prides themselves on white supremacy and robotic rights. Makes no sense. Why would you give rights to robots before humans? Anyways, that's a whole other side issue. But what was my point again? Okay, now I actually don't remember. I don't know what I was going on about. But anyways, basically my saying sorry because when it comes to integrity, it's essentially holding yourself accountable to a standard even when no one is looking. And I understand at this point, nobody's watching this channel. I didn't tell anybody about it. People who know me would know that it's me. So I'm not telling people it's me because I don't want people to know it's me. I want people to think it's somebody. They should take it at their word because they don't know them or anything about them. So, hopefully the judgment can be alleviated and we can play a what if game with OJK Greasy. And yeah, I know nobody's watching right now, but to hold myself accountable because I said I would do something, this just, I'm not trying to boost, but this is the type of character that I have. I will hold myself accountable. So the fact that I missed those couple days is, yeah, I will basically apologize by sharing some of that art, some of that mixtape art. Basically, okay, the thing is, I'm not a serious rapper. I don't meditate on rap. I've been told before to do slam poetry because I write poetry. I have a box full of poetry, not all the poems I've ever written, but at a certain point, I started keeping them probably around, I want to say around 2016ish maybe. And yeah, basically, I keep them in this box. Um, I fold them, okay, wherever I write the poem itself, whether it's on a napkin, piece of paper, a flyer, something like that. I'll write it, I'll number it, and then put it in this box. This is basically all my real copies. Um, how would you say that? The masters. These are the masters of my poems. And then I copy them into a book. I would like to publish a book of poetry, but that's also a side project. But anyways, these are not particularly poems that I'm sharing. These are like freestyles off the dome. This is like music to me. Like if I hear a beat and I feel inspired, or if I'm just chilling and I'm not writing a poem, like consciously when it's meant to be a rap, like these are like the types of things that I have. Um, what else? Yeah, so basically that's my apology for not being around. I was just doing stuff this weekend. Saturday I cleaned the whole house pretty much, reorganized the linen cupboard. In this house, I inherited a lot of my grandmother on my dad's side who passed away in 2020, giant of a woman. Um, the type of character that words cannot describe. Those who know will know. Those who don't know can never know. But I inherited a lot of her linens and stuff that my dad kind of had laying around in storage, didn't know what to do with it, just like in a bunch of bins and boxes that just ended up here. So yeah, in the beginning I thought it wasn't gonna be that much. I started putting them in the cupboards, but slowly those cupboards piled up, and because I don't know, I don't have that much furniture to put linens all over and stuff like that, so they just take up space. So I decided, for the new year 2026, I was gonna take whatever I'm not using out of that cupboard and just get it out of the way, like put it in some of those bins, put them in the spare room. Um, yeah, that's about it. So I did that on Saturday, and then Sunday was my day to do all those other things. But it actually is a lot of work. Not that I thought it wouldn't be work, but taking care of two baby dogs, yeah, it's a big thing, but it does keep me positive, so I'm not complaining. But I definitely need to get some crates. I'm gonna start crate training, learn how to do that. At first, I was opposed to it, being like, I don't want to put them in jail, but yeah, I think I see essentially that it's supposed to be like a space for emotional self-regulation when it feels anxious or whatever, in theory. Anyways, what else is on my list? Yeah, I wrote a list anyways I was gonna share for my weekend episodes, but I never got around to it. Oh, something else I did this weekend, yo, I watched Sharknado 1 again, Sharknado 2. That's the one with the chainsaws. Amazing. I started watching Sharknado 3 today, but I wasn't really. Yeah, Friday I watched Sharknado. Saturday I watched Sharknado 2. Sunday, yeah, today I started watching Sharknado 3, but it wasn't that good. Unfortunately, it kind of let me down. So I took a pause on it and didn't resume it. I don't know, it didn't start out that promising, but I'll come back to it probably later in the week when I need when you need some movie companionship in the background. It's one of those feel good movies. Yeah, feel me. I'm gonna share a list of great movies. Oh shoot, I have to deal with those baby dogs. One sec. Yeah, so I had to take those huppos outside. Um, but what else? I don't remember where I was mid thought, but let me just keep going down my list. Uh, yeah, a couple of movies that are on my list to watch. Actually, no, I already mentioned that. Also, The Goonies. The other day, the phrase "Hey, you guys" came up, and I was like, "Yo, where's that from?" And I feel like maybe I watched that movie once a long time ago, maybe around the same time I was watching Children of the Corn, but yeah, I don't remember it, so I have to rewatch that one. And let's see, a channel that I've been watching lately, a social media channel I've been watching, is on YouTube called Social Simone, and she gives a lot of financial advice, which I truly appreciate. And I think it would be a really good channel to plug the youth into too, because I don't think they're getting. I mean, not like I, as a millennial in my school years, got any financial teachings, but you would hope that it's better for kids these days. I doubt it is, but I think that's a positive channel to direct them towards. Because, well, not that she breaks everything down and gives you how would you say, a step by step as to how to do things financially, but there's a lot of social media videos she'll comment on that are claiming to give financial advice or that are in the realm of, I don't know, finance or people talking about finance and stuff like that. And she'll kind of break it down and like make it make sense, or she'll comment on it, give her own personal opinion. But to me, I don't know. I like what she says. I like the way she says it. I like the point she brings up. I I don't know why, but I don't really explore YouTube the way I used to. In the beginning when YouTube was really it was really the people's thing. Kids these days, unfortunately, they wouldn't understand because YouTube is everybody's game now. There's movies on YouTube, celebrities on YouTube. But in the beginning, yo, I remember, I don't know what year it was, but Time Magazine, I remember one year the cover it was like the YouTube play button, and it said you. It said you are. I could be wrong here with the Time magazine. Could have been a different magazine, but it was like a big magazine saying the person of the year is you because of YouTube, because it was really the people's tool, and it was people doing stuff like this. I guess this is a throwback to the old YouTube, what it was, what it could have been. People from around the world talking about their life, sharing experiences, breaking down myths about people who live in a certain place or how the place really operates, what that place is really like for the people living there day by day, not in, any elite strata of that society, but just regular people moving around, how they move, what the experience is like for them. Yeah, YouTube used to be people doing things, sharing stories. Um, so yeah, I guess this whole channel is an ode to that. But yeah, I appreciate people who still do that, who are really, I mean, most people are doing it a lot more nicely than I'm doing it here. They have a nice background, have some lights and a little mic camera. But you know what? I I'm a regular person, I'm waiting for my school placement. I'm in a medical space where I'm not working full time because I'm waiting on surgery. I have a lot of appointments coming up and most jobs would not accommodate all the absences I would have to have, and on top of the complications of me even trying to work the way I was working previously, with the issue that I have. But what was I actually even saying? Why am I losing my train of thought? I don't know. Maybe because it's 3 in the morning right now. Yeah, I know I'm tired and I'm trying to get through all the things on my list. Um, I don't know. I guess I forgot where my train of thought was going with that. But yeah, I remember when YouTube was the people's champ. So yeah, throwback to better YouTube. Those are back in the days of LimeWire. If you don't know, you'll never know. Where's my list? I dropped it. Something I forgot to mention though, the box I keep my poems in, these were like my favorite shoes that I ever got. It was a DC shoe, the Joker, and yeah, it was a Converse shoe. And the time that I loved Converse, and I don't remember where I even bought them from. Maybe it was when that store Detox was still around in the Plaster Orleans Mall. And then I think from Detox it turned to Amnesia or something, and then they shut it down. But I think it's still around in Montreal. And I went to Montreal a couple years ago. I think I tried to find it. I don't think I found it. But anyways, yeah, what I was saying before with the whole YouTube setup and stuff like that, and how most people have a nicer setup than this, I figure I'm not gonna break the bank to do this. I'm in a place in my life right now where I'm doing this as a therapeutic, what's the word? This is a therapeutic medium for me. Hopefully, people who tune in also see it as therapy, or, are entertained or enlightened by it. But yeah, it's a therapeutic medium. Maybe one day people will tune into this and people will start watching, and then, yeah, maybe it'll make some extra money from my pocket so I can start building my house where I plan to build my house, which I will not disclose on YouTube. But yeah, I figure until the money starts rolling in from the channel, I don't need to break the bank for the channel. I'm just a regular OJK Greasy trying to live my OJK Greasy Beezy best life. So, yeah, when the money starts rolling in, I'll get a little cam, I'll get a little GoPro, show you guys what's going on in the beehive. Yo, I swear, my most beautiful moment from 2024 beekeeping, maybe only a beekeeper would understand this truly, but okay, so I had a job where I was doing urban beekeeping, which I have my own moral issues with. Upon reflection, I have my own moral issues with the notion of urban beekeeping if it's not done in a sustainable ways, like best practices for the bees. Because when it comes to urban beekeeping, it can be something that's very aesthetic, It's something, um, I don't know if it's a fad right now, honestly. I don't really know. I don't really follow the people who like set fads. I don't know. Um, but yeah, when it comes to urban beekeeping, it can be sustainable if it's done thoughtfully, if it's done meditatively, but if it's just done for aesthetic purposes or financial purposes, then it's morally wrong because you can't, even though they're very small, these are very small, it doesn't mean you could take advantage of them. It's like someone who abuses an animal. Just because it's small, it doesn't mean you could hurt it or kill it. So, the way I see beekeeping, it's a therapeutic thing for me as well. So I I also, this is My teacher who taught me beekeeping, he's a really cool dude. He's a groovy dude, okay? And he used to be an inspector. I don't even know why I'm going off on a complete tangent here. I don't know why I'm doing that. But yeah, he used to be an inspector and then he started keeping his own bees and he keeps bees with the philosophy that, you should treat them in the most humane way, which I completely agree with. And I'm grateful that I was taught by somebody who views beekeeping in that way because, I think that's the perfect person to teach me. And I think that really set me up and helped me to become the great beekeeper that I am today. And I'm not even playing because he told me that I'm great. And he tells me all the time that I'm great. At the time, I just kind of jumped into beekeeping. And, he used to, you know, I don't want to say sing my praises, but he would tell me that I was really good at it, that I was doing really good, that he appreciated how like thoughtful and honest I was in my work, even when it's like, for example, we'd be in a yard with like 30 colonies and he'd tell me to do like the ones on this side or the ones in this area and he'd do the ones like in the area beside. And then for example, he asked me like, did you do that one? And if I honestly couldn't remember, I'd tell him I honestly don't remember, so I'll do it again instead of lying and being like, oh yeah, I did it. And I remember one time I did that and he was like, so impressed by my integrity and stuff like that. And also when it came to grafting, he told me that I was so great, and that meant a lot to me. And I really do think I was great. The saddest thing was just like the last graft that I did. The last graft I did for the season, I remember that whole day. I was like stressed and pressed that whole day trying to get to the yard, came out of the yard. Well, I did the graft, came out of the yard. People are looking at me funny. And yeah, I really felt like that was a perfect graft. And then it turned out that there's a sliding board in the queen, or, well, I guess queen cell builder or cell builder, and I put it in upside down so all the bees escaped instead of being contained in there so they could actually, draw the queen cell frames and make the queen bees. I put that shit in upside down and all the bees left, so the graft didn't even get like grafted. That broke my heart when he told me that because I remember I pulled up, it was like, what, like 2 weeks later around then, and I was like, yo, I bet you're gonna tell me that graft was money. And the man said, I hate to break it to you, but you put the thing in upside down, and that broke my heart. So I'm still waiting for my opportunity to redeem myself when it comes to grafting. And it was something I really enjoyed, but yeah, he told me straight up I was really good at it. Like when he just taught me how to do it, and I caught on very well. Can't find a better word than that in the English language in this moment. But yeah, he would tell me I was great all the time. And he told me the year that I worked for him was like his best year to date. Like even now, I saw him at the market last month, and he's always reminding me that I'm great and that I was great at beekeeping. So I appreciate him for that. But anyways, my most beautiful moment beekeeping, doing that urban beekeeping job in 2024 was not when, the employees in the buildings would see me and want to come out and see what I was doing. It's not when the employees in the building would see me in the hall and ask, oh, how are the bees, even though they really didn't care about the bees. It's not when, you know, it's not when I had to pull up at these buildings and wait in line and go to security and get a special key and then go up to the roof or wait for them to find the key or for them to tell me the guy with the key wasn't there. And then I would ask, what will happen to the bees then if I can't check them to go up to the roof? They said, and then I say, well, what happens if the bees die? Because I'm supposed to check them on a schedule. And they say, well, they didn't give a shit. So I don't know, like those definitely weren't the best moments. The best moment of my 2024 beekeeping spring summer was the moment where I don't remember what building I was on top of. It was one of those buildings with double hives on top. Um, at the time they had two boxes each. They were pretty full, like moderately full each one, and I think we're just at the beginning of swarm season. So it wasn't expected that any of them would be too crazy yet, but then also I was doing the first checks on these and who knows how long because this company failed to supply me with what I requested from them before I started. I told them I'd like an updated list of each hive, like when it was last checked, when it was last treated, like, what's going on in there. And they failed to supply me with that. Upon reflection, I would say it's definitely because they didn't have it. They didn't care about the bees enough have to be keeping records like that. So, what else? Yeah, so I was on top of the roof of this building, double hive. I pulled up to the first one and they were on stands, which is good because on top of these buildings is so hot and um, how would you say, the floors? I don't want to say the floors of the roof. That doesn't make sense. Basically, the top of the roof, they're always dark materials. I don't know why on most of these roofs, but it was like a dark brown or like a black or maybe even a gray. But anyways, this shit would like absorb a lot of the heat, and especially at one particular mall, yo, all you saw was dead bees around these colonies because it was so hot. On top of that, I don't know what they call it, tarmac. What is that called? When you're on the roof of a building, the floor of the roof, like what you're walking on when you're on the roof of the building outside. It was so hot that all you saw was dead bees around because as soon as they touched that thing, like they're pretty much like sizzling and dying. So yeah, they had stands that the hive was sitting on. Not that it helped, but it helped like a little bit. Um, and yeah, so I peeked underneath it and then like trying to peek up inside the frames to see if um on the bottom if there were any, queen cells. And I saw one on a particular frame. So, I opened up the hive, did my thing with the hive tool, and I like gently, kind of nudged all the frames and then got a little extra space around that one, pulled it up, and there was a perfectly formed queen cell at the bottom. And I remember like peeking, trying to see if, the little cut line around the top, if the queen had come out or not. Like she, sometimes it looks like she hasn't come out. And then when you kind of tip the frame, you see the opening kind of like, um, like, how would you say, opening a little bit, like kind of flapping open. But yeah, if you see the line around it, you just have to look really closely to determine if the line is like a cut and she came out or if there's no line and she's still in there. So I'm peeking closely trying to see. And I had a tiny little knife, like a little box cutter like this. And I remember I like peeked the blade up like this, like the tiniest bit you can and kind of flicked it, tried to flick it open. And the queen, she crawled, like slowly crawled down the side of the cell, like as if she's just flexing on me, like showing me how good she looks, She's walking on it slowly, flies away. That was the most beautiful moment. Like to me, it's things like that that make it worth it. I know the company at the end of the day ripped me off, like for the amount of honey that I gave them from those hives, but they paid me for it. I know I got completely ripped off, but to me, it's like a moment like that that matters. It doesn't mean I'm not trying to pursue what I'm owed from that company, but yeah, that moment will always stay with me. I'm not the type who's good at capturing moments with a camera or anything like that, but to me, I took a mental picture of that moment, and that's one of my top 10 best moments in my life so far. Don't ask me what the other nine are. I'll figure those out some other day, but all I know is that's got to be in the top 10. That was such a beautiful moment for me. Um, anyways, I guess we're getting up to about, I said I would make these episodes about half an hour. These are my cool lava lamps in the background. By the way, I don't have the right bulb size, so they're both kind of, how would you say? They're like display lamps for now, not active. They're not actively lamping, but I'm still there. So I have my little rap here. So this is something I wrote. This is something I wrote. I don't remember if I wrote it when I definitely wrote it last year, 2025, because, or it could have been 2024, because I was anticipating that I would get this surgery in early 2025. Like, I thought I would have my consultation appointment on the 9th of January in Montreal, and then he would tell me, no problem, my friend, I book you in. But he didn't tell me that. He pretty much told me he had to wait on government permission, and then he rejected me. So, yeah, but this is a something that I wrote thinking, yo, when I come out of this is like, yo, when I come out of surgery, I kept dreaming of that moment, how it was gonna feel when I came out of surgery, pain free, worry free about this thing that's been haunting my life for the past like 5 years or whatever. So yeah, that Montreal doctor, I feel like he sold me a dream, but that's neither here nor there. There's no title on this rap of mine. Keep in mind, this is like a freestyle. All the raps that I have, I probably write them within like a 1 hour period. I don't put in ad libs. I kind of put the ad libs on the side. I'm not gonna say those because they didn't fit in there yet, and they're all kind of unfinished because they come off the top, and I don't come back to them, meditate on them, erase, and make it fit. And there's also some parts that are, you know, with like a blank space because either I wanted to put something there and I haven't figured it out yet. Yeah, maybe in a couple years this will look completely different. Maybe this poem will look completely different. So, well, poem, rap, whatever you want to call it. Maybe I'll have a name for it the next time around, but I might put it in my mixtape. Anyways, as I said before, this is a piece dedicated to how I'm gonna feel when I walk out of surgery feeling 100 or feeling 99, very close to that 100. Probably won't feel 100 till after I heal up, but yeah, feeling 99. I don't remember what particular beat inspired me when I was writing this, but anyways, here we go. Just walked out of surgery, called a gal ya OJ Grease. They a fight the politicians, they a fight the police. Born in Babylon, never asked for Bobby wrong. Why them have to do me wrong? Missing line. When me touched on back a yard, decent love in my yard, missing line. Should have been this, should have this from the start. Ask before approaching me, trying them enemies, can't trick off or bury me, shut your mouth, your rules ain't real. Do not play in on my face, speak it strong, articulate, get your hand out, me, get your hand out, how me play it, government deserve the hate. Collective act, collective action step together, protect your sister and your brother, honor father and your mother, do not dash away the elders. Yeah, that's all I got. And I got some ad libs on the side. Pigs get fucked. Don't touch my beast boy. Let go the cuff them off my hand them. A roaring lion cannot be contained. That's about all I got. And then also, something else too. I wanted to, well, ever since I was a kid, okay, I'm not saying I do voices as a passion, but something I tried to get into was reading audiobooks. For one of these audiobook companies, but the shit is not as simple as it seems. Like, it's not straightforward, like anyone can just do this and apply. It's like there's so many steps and like particular formats you have to use and stuff, and it just gave me a headache. I did one of them. I don't think I ever even got paid for it, and then I did like half of another one, but at the time that I had to submit it. I told myself I would submit it before leaving, and then at the time I was in Jamaica, I didn't submit it because I don't know, it just wasn't a priority at that time. But anyways, yeah, I would like to do like audiobooks, stuff like that, record them in my regular voice. I have a couple different voices. So I could say something British and record an audiobook maybe in a British voice, something like it. What else? I got the Southern Belle. When it comes to the Southern Belle, you have to present yourself in a particular way. And when it comes to things like reading, yeah, I'm not gonna say the other line that was coming to my mind. What else? I had a little Frenchy one too, like a little Quebec one. One thing out here is like Ottawa, when it comes to French, okay, yeah, Gatineau is right there. A lot of people speak French. There's this thing, ooh, Quebec French is not the same as France French. Nobody knows what either one of them are saying. And the thing about French out here is like it's very, I don't even know if you could say classist. I don't know if the word is classist, but it's, how would you say? It's like if you don't speak French with a particular accent, they won't believe you speak French. So if I come out here like, oh, bonjour monsieur, je suis ici pour l'interview. Moi, j'appelle Candice. Je veux rencontrer avec John. Est-ce qu'il est disponible pour le moment ou vous voulez que j'attende ici? You know, something like that. They'll be like, okay, it's because I speak French. But if I come here like this, ben, comment ça va, mon ami? Vous avez besoin de quelque chose? Moi, je suis ici pour l'interview. Vous savez, you know, if you don't talk like that, they, I don't know, they just kind of, they'll respond to you in English, just like some weird shit. But anyways, for my last point of the video, not to leave it last because it should never be a last point. It should always be a beginning point in conversations on this land here of Turtle Island. Yeah, I was opening my little folder of, how would you say, my folder of, yeah, my artistic folder that I have my little freestyles and stuff like that in them. I just, well, okay, yeah, I guess I can't, I was gonna say I can't call them freestyles anymore, but the thing is, they were freestyles at the time, and I have not retouched them. Therefore, they remain, I think, on principle. But anyways, in my binder there, I found my Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action. This is a beautiful book. This is a beautiful message, a beautiful pamphlet. I used to have this up on my ledge in the kitchen. So anytime I wash dishes, I would see it and I would, you know, review it and stuff like that. This, I don't remember which particular event I got this from, but yeah, it has section one is the principles of reconciliation. Section 2 calls to action. I believe there are 94. Section 3 is the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. And I think that is a very beautiful, um, it's a piece, well, I guess it's a piece of legislation. To me, it's like poetry. When I read that, I thought it was such a beautiful thing, and I was so glad that something like that had become quote unquote law, if you will. But at the same time, you know, the UN is definitely not perfect. They've made many mistakes in the past and continue to make particular mistakes when it suits or does not suit them. And of course, it is fact that not all indigenous peoples on their land are truly being upheld to this standard, but this should be the worldwide standard. I think, yo, this is something that children should have to read in school. You know, when they're young, I think instead of, well, I don't want to say the national anthem, but I mean, at least here, you know, at least here in a place where we know say the land does not belong to those who wrote this anthem, I think, you know, maybe we could start with reading something like this because, yeah, I think it's very uplifting and it just, it's just one of those things that we should live by. I think on another day I'll read it. We could go through it together. And also the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action because I of course have to give thanks and wish peace on the Algonquin and Anishinaabe peoples of this land where I currently am situated, where this house I am living in is currently situated. I'm thankful for the people's generosity, and I'm heartbroken when it comes to what has been taken from them and what continues to be taken from them, and the fact that there's so many communities, indigenous communities today in this so-called country that are living in quote unquote third world. No disrespect to anyone who is not living in the Western world. I'm not saying third world as a slur. I'm just saying it as a how would you say, like as a term, just to use the term, just so you know like what I mean. But I'm not bashing the quote unquote third world because most of those places are more beautiful than the Western world, anyways. But yeah, there's a lot of indigenous communities today living in quote unquote third world conditions on their own land, which is more than a damn shame. So yeah, I think we owe them. We owe them for every person in this so-called country. Actually, we owe it to indigenous peoples across the world for all of us to know the United Nations Declaration of the Rights on the rights of indigenous peoples, and for us to hold the UN and governments up to this standard, because it's not too much to ask. It's really not too much to ask, as well as the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action, written by the National Center for Truth and no, oh my gosh, written by the Commission. What am I saying? I'm reading it at the same time as if I have a script and I'm not going off the top. So I'm reading and I'm speaking and it's not coming across, but yeah, I would love to visit the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, University of Manitoba. I would actually love to visit Winnipeg because I know there's a lot of Indigenous history there. Oh, speaking of that, actually, a book that I read. Okay, I'm gonna confess, I missed the last book club meeting because the book I didn't like it. It was really boring, and I didn't want to tell the ladies that I didn't read it because it was boring. So I copped that last minute, which is really not a good look, but I guess I was ashamed. But the book club book that we read, when I joined the book club, I was gonna buy this book anyways, and I joined the book club because of this book, because I wanted to be able to discuss it after. So unfortunately, I'm realizing I might not be a frequent flyer at the book club because I don't want to say I'm selective in the books that I want to read, but I am selective in the books that I want to read. I want to read many books, but certain books have more higher priority over others, like the one I mentioned last time by Kagiso Molope. I don't remember her middle name, but I believe there was a middle name in there. Like that book to me is not striking, but it's like it pulls me. I have a desire to read that book. And the book that recently I had from the book club, I just didn't have that desire. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna make myself read something I don't typically read, but I couldn't even force myself because I found myself reading things that I enjoyed more. I was avoiding the book, the book was like a person I wanted to get away from, but instead of telling them I wanted to get away from them and just taking them off the shelf, I just avoided them. I wonder why I used that analogy. Um, what else? So, yeah, when I first joined the book club, the book that made me join the book club was about Winnipeg. And I sung this book's praises because some of the ladies at the book club, okay, let's be completely transparent. At this book club, my dad actually asked me, he's like, so what's the average age of people at your book club? I was like, I don't know, maybe 60. There's me and probably, I mean, I haven't met everyone in the book club, but the last time it was me and, a bunch of elderly ladies, which I have no problem being in that circle. And I have no problem spending time with my elders and showing them respect. And I love to hear their points of view, actually. And all these ladies, were not from the same cultural background as me, which didn't matter. It didn't make me uncomfortable, but I think it was enriching for all of us to sit and have to listen to each other because maybe someone like me and someone like them would probably not really have a lot of opportunities, especially in this society, to sit down and talk unless, you know, it was a student professor interaction, if it was like a, um, if I was working somewhere or selling them something or they were selling me something or, what else? Yeah, because, yeah, it's like I wouldn't really normally be, well, actually, maybe if I was volunteering with my veteran friends. Yeah, they have an organization where there's a lot of elderly people and stuff like that from, you know, not my same cultural background, but yeah, we all have good times or good enough times that we all keep coming back. So, um, yeah, some of the ladies said they hadn't read the book. Some of them kind of had their criticisms about it because I don't know, maybe it's seen as controversial. Well, okay, it definitely is seen as controversial when an indigenous person writes a book that's telling the truth about the land that we're currently on because it's still such a pressing topic to many people with a colonial mindset. Like they're not willing to let go of the hold they think they still have over the country and the history. So when books come up like this, it can make a lot of people uncomfortable. It could turn a lot of people off. And, a lot of people would never pick up a book like that. Like, for example, actually, even at the book club event that I mentioned the last time with the same book that I plugged before, not the Winnipeg book, but the book by Sister Molope, there was a moment, okay, yeah, they were talking about apartheid, like the in South Africa. Um, and then at one point when I believe it was the author herself who took a moment, or the conversation switched to something about like indigenous peoples and like honoring them on their land or recognizing them, something like that. And there was one lady I noticed who was sitting, there were a row or two in front of me, but immediately when that topic came up, she like shot up from her seat and walked briskly out that room. I don't know if anyone else noticed it like that, or maybe people just thought like, oh, the main conversation is over, so she's leaving, and nobody really looked twice. But to me, oh no, 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 it wasn't about indigenous peoples. It was about yeah, they had mentioned another political topic um, that's happening today where indigenous peoples are being persecuted and run off their land. And, there's genocide, the genocide currently happening in Palestine against the Palestinian peoples, and that's been ongoing. And a lot of people have went to jail about what they're saying about it. Let me be honest, the truth they're telling about it and how they're saying, Israel and the United States government are in bed together in cahoots and, committing genocide. And it's like genocide for money, genocide for profit. And yeah, as soon as that topic was brought up, not in that way that I just said, this lady shot up from her seat and like sprinted out that room. And also, yeah, I don't support any type of genocide on any type of people anywhere in the world. Genocide is not, it's not something human beings should be perpetrating against each other. It is not an act of humanity. Of all the things a human being could choose to do in this life, the powers that we have physically, spiritually, emotionally, in all the ways, musically, artistically, committing genocide is like below the grade of human being. Like that is not even within our realm. One has to step outside the realm of humanity to be committing genocide on others and to condone the commission of genocide upon others. And yeah, it always happens to be happening to indigenous people when they're trying to be run off their land. So yeah, we're definitely gonna get into the uh, UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. I don't want to misquote it, but yeah, we're gonna get into that on another day. And what was I saying? Yeah, about what was I saying? Yes, about the book. One moment. This is the book. I fell in love with this book, Winnipeg, Visions of Canada from an Indigenous Center. I wanted to visit the area before this, but after reading this book, I fell in love with it. It's so poetic, it's so insightful, it's so spiritual, it's like very natural. I just adored everything about this book. I was singing its praises. And yeah, one of the ladies of the book club in the beginning had a criticism about like some colonial statue being torn down in Winnipeg, I believe it was. She had a certain commentary about that, and my bad. I I don't know. It's to me, I disagreed with her, but I disagreed with her very politely. I realized there were a lot of different ways that I could have went about that conversation. I could have intellectually attacked her, I could have destroyed her and destroyed her character, but I was trying to understand why she would think that indigenous youth tearing down a statue of a former colonist, like why she would take offense to that. So, not that I wasn't even leaving room to agree with her, but yeah, the way she had said that she didn't agree with it was like she was kind of, I don't know, yeah, she was like against it. And she said something about being a quote unquote, I don't know if it was monarchist, but I guess someone who believes in the monarchy. But yeah, I disagreed with her, but I tried to do it in a respectful way. The old me wouldn't have done that, but me in this my big age in 2026, yeah, I can't be going about doing stuff like that anymore because yeah, if I'm gonna work in the field that I'm gonna work in, I realize I'm gonna be around a lot of people who inflame me intellectually and I can't be triggered by it. And so basically, what I had said to her in response was that, well, she had said, oh, they didn't have to tear down the statue. They could have done something like, I don't remember which country she mentioned, but she's like, for example, there's one country who all their colonial statues, instead of tearing them down, they brought them into a particular park and then they just put them all together as like these are people we used to worship before we knew it was wrong, and they're just kind of there. I don't know if people throw rotten tomatoes at them. I don't know, but they're like still standing just all together. I guess it's supposed to be in a place of shame, but who knows? Like white supremacists probably go there and like worship them. So yeah, I definitely don't agree with that. But to me, like it was obvious. I'm like, how does she not see exactly why that happened? Like, how does it not make perfect sense to anyone why that happened? It's like in a time and place where, for example, it's like empathize, empathize. You're an indigenous youth in Winnipeg and all this colonial shit that went on. You know the history. Your people have never gotten reparations. If you're still struggling in a particular way, and say the way that you get home is walking by this statue every day. I'm just hypothesizing because it's probably not. But it's like, that is like it's mocking you, like some shit like that is mocking you, like this old colonist being like, I reaped all your ancestors and stole your land and killed all your bison, or like poisoned your water supply, gave you blankets with smallpox, gave you guys all diseases, and made a bunch of money off it. Now my relatives are living high and mighty while you guys don't have clean drinking water. Ha ha. Or oh, we still have to. Well, actually, no, that one wouldn't work in that context. But something like that. If it was me, like to me, that's a mockery. It's like every day I'm walking by that shit, I would just get madder and madder and madder each day. And yeah, like if the opportunity came for me to drag down a statue, if the opportunity came for me to drag down a statue of a policeman or some old British colonist, actually, it doesn't even matter where the colonist was from, some old colonist from anywhere, I would be there in that protest tearing that shit down too. Like that's a beautiful opportunity to show that you do not agree with the actions of that person. And it's also showing it's okay, it's a reflection of, to me, it's a duty. Like that's like it's like a moral duty when that's like, for example, there being a statue of Leopold II, up in the park around the corner, and me walking by it and not wanting to like tear that shit down. I would destroy a statue of that blankety blank if they put one anywhere near me. So I understand it's a mockery. Like he's mocking you. After what he did to your ancestors, it's a mockery to have any type of, statue or homage or painting or art or monument or castle or golden throne or whatever it is, or, little chocolate hands, whatever it is. It's a mockery of what your people went through and whatever suffering they're still enduring today. It's a mockery of that. So yeah, and also one thing we should never forget is that when it comes to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, remember that only when that piece of legislation came out and the countries had to vote for it, there's only three countries in the world who voted against it: Australia, Canada, and the United States of America with three Ks, So don't get it twisted. Land of the free, home of the brave, whatever they call this place. What's the slogan for Canada, actually? I actually have no idea, but whatever it is, trust me, it is not that. It's like Marcus Garvey said, the whole world is run on bluff, which it actually is because look who's running it, and the laws they have. Ha 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 ha. There's nothing more bluffity than those laws, but we could tackle that on a different day. So let's go for the quote of the day. Okay, 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 okay. Yeah, this is from a song that I remembered earlier, a track I hadn't listened to in a while. Yo, I used to have this little iPod. Wait, actually, probably this and it was silver. I had the wickedest tracks on that iPod. Before that, I had that green iPod, probably like this. I had the wickedest tracks on that one, but the silver one, whoa, that one was. Yo, when I lost that iPod, I felt like I lost a part of me. I actually went into mourning for a little bit, but I had to get over it because life goes on. Nobody would understand. So yeah, I had to pick myself up and keep going. But yeah, so the quote of the day is from, well, not one of those lost tracks, but probably a song I haven't listened to in like a year. Probably the last time I listened to it maybe was 2024. Devils by Boosie, Boosie Badass. That quote, Devil, get your ass away. I don't play for that. That's the quote of the day. So if there's a devil trying to run upon you today on this blessed Monday, tell that devil, get his ass away. You don't play for that. You're anointed by Jah Rastafari, and you have peace and love in your heart and all around you, and that evil can't touch me. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. I know all y'all heard that one. But and some artists I've been listening to. Actually, I'll give you another song of the day because I was really bumping this track today, enjoying it, by Muddy Maya. It's called Cashing Out. And I gotta also shout out. Okay, let me shout out some female artists, musicians, because my older sister, one of my older sisters, she's always bashing me and being like, why do you hate on female musicians, female artists? That is so not true. Let me tell you right now, that is so not true. I'm a woman. I love to see women getting their I love to see them doing all the things that women do in their splendid womanliness. But when she puts artists like Beyonce, Mariah Carey, artists like that to me, I'm sorry. Those are not for me. Those are not female artists I respect. Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, not for me. I run from those. Taylor Swift, don't even get me started. But I'm gonna shout out some female artists right now. So I'm for real. I listen to them, I rate them, whether they're from this time or another time. This is not quote unquote an exhaustive list, but here's a couple before we get to the 1 hour mark. Muddy Maya, Baby Osama, Queen Omega, Katie Got Bands, Baby Africa, Alicia G. Who else? Jean Grey, Nole, she's a British artiste that I like. Tank, that's my girl. I hate R&B, but Tank has a voice like an angel. Mary J. Blige, ooh, the Conscious Daughters, they're so dope. Probably from the 80s, 90s. Who else? Um, Lauren Hill, of course, Miss Lauren Hill, undoubtable. Who else is coming to mind? Let me name one before the 1 hour mark. Hey, hey. Okay, I'm drawing a blank. A base.